everybody, I'm RulyWolf, and if you were here last time, you would know that MoonDog was not here, but he's back and he's feeling better.
Yes, I am much better. Thank you for covering for me, because that was not much fun.
Not at all. So, but now we're here together and we have an exciting show. If you haven't watched our show on Encounters of the First Kind, I highly recommend going and watching that one before this one, but you don't have to. So what we're talking about today is Encounters of the Second Kind. So encounters of the second kind are when UFOs cause physical effects on humans, animals, on objects. And this is described by UFO Witness Sightings by Peter Brooks-Smith, which is a really awesome and cool book. And so the great thing about these encounters compared to encounters of the first kind is you don't have to actually see a UFO to experience an encounter of the second time. It just has to leave a physical effect. So, burn marks, scorched earth, anything like that counts as an encounter of the second kind. So it's a lot easier to find stories about encounters of the second kind than it was to find encounters of the first kind.
Yeah, that was tough.
It was tough. Or it would, in my researching, it would be that you would find, a UFO encounter that met the criteria of a first kind, except for the fact that it left physical evidence, and that made it an encounter of the second kind. So you kind of had a big jump there. So I was excited for this one. I found a lot more information. So I think I'm actually going to start this one off with the story that I personally found to be very interesting. So in 1954, during a football game, and this is European football because it was in Florence, Italy, not American football, there was a stadium full of 10,000 people, and they're sitting there, and it was just shortly after halftime, and they look up, and all these people saw these crafts. And some of them described them as egg-shaped. Some of them said they kind of were the shape like a Cuban cigar, which, I don't know, that's pretty interesting because those aren't the same, but they're a similar enough shape that, 10,000 people seeing pretty much the same thing seems pretty legitimate to me. But let me continue because it's still interesting. Not that you're saying anything. But, so the craft were hovering above the stadium and everybody could see it. And not only were they hovering above the stadium, they were dropping these like silvery strands from them. And some people described them as glitter or glass fibers. And somebody even said angel hairs. So this stuff was coming down from it. And it was so delicate that when it was touched, it just disintegrated. And just sitting there out, this substance was disintegrating. One of the players, whose name was Ardico Magnini, and I apologize if I'm not saying that wrong. I'm trying. But he said everyone was looking up and there was some glitter coming down from the sky, silver glitter. We were astonished. We had never seen anything like it before. We were absolutely shocked. And again, this is one of those things that's 1954, there's not, crazy amounts of, aircraft up in the sky that could be dropping weird stuff.
Good point.
Let alone egg-shaped things. So there was a journalist there from the La Nación newspaper, and he actually managed to get a piece of this substance. I didn't quite understand how he got it. He wrapped it around a match or something like that. I'm a visual learner, so seeing things helps me understand better, so I'm not sure how he got it, but he did manage to get a piece, and he took it down to Professor Giovanni Caneri, who worked at the Institute of Chemical Analysis at the University of Florence. So what Caneri did, the Professor Caneri, he used spectrographic analysis to test the material, and it was indicated that it contained
Contained.
boron. Yeah. I'm just going to start new words. Every time I say something wrong on this, I'm going to write it down and it's just going to be my new word. So contained. They concluded that it contained boron, silicon, calcium, and magnesium, and it was not radioactive, which I did notice there is a trend with radioactivity in UFOs. Right. So this one's kind of unique that it was not radioactive. But because it was such a delicate thing that the testing destroyed it. So that was the only piece of evidence, and it's gone. Now, the thing that I find most ridiculous is there was a theory that was actually done by, I believe he was a military pilot. He said that he'd never seen anything before in all of his hours of flying, and so it wasn't anything. And he said it was probably spiders. I'm sure you guys have seen. Oh, it gets better. I fell down the rabbit hole with this one. So think like Australia when they had the spiders and they use the silk to kind of like catch and fly. That's basically what he compared it to. But you've seen Australia and it's just covered in spider webs.
Yeah, but to that, I mean, that much. Come on, give me a break.
Right. So he was trying to say that, they were like globbing together. So one of my points with this is that spider web is not delicate. I don't know if you've ever touched spider web, but it's sticky and it doesn't really, I mean, a little bit it'll disintegrate, but if it's globbing together, like this was, now let me rephrase that. He was saying the globs of spider web appeared to be the spaceships, and the little strands of spider web were the glittery substance. So, 10,000 people saw globs of spider webs. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, can I say something to that point real quick?
Absolutely.
That goes back to always to the cover up, you didn't really see anything. It was just a weather balloon, or you know what I mean? Right. I mean, anything to do with the UFOs, they quickly want to just dispel anything what people saw. And like you said, 10,000 people saw it. Well, you can't get away from that. But they're going to come out and some pilot says, well, I've been a pilot for 55 years and I've never seen something like that. It was spiders. It's like, what the French toast? Sorry. Right. Pisses me off. It's like, if anybody falls for it, that's dumb too.
And that goes back to, I think if you're going to not see something, you're not going to see something. It's not like I'm going to, I think it'd be cool to see a UFO, but I have never seen anything. I'm open to it, but it's never happened. But on the same note, I think if you're like, oh, this doesn't exist, you're going to have an explanation for everything. So I feel like that's just, he would explain it away no matter what, and there wouldn't be any explanation that to him that would make it plausible that it was a UFO.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right.
So it's going to get boring for a second, and I apologize, but I really had to look into this. But looking at spiderweb silk, we're going to go based off of a golden orb weaving spider, which the exact composition of spiderweb silk can vary by spider species, and there's a lot of spider species, but it varies small amounts, not huge amounts, and their diet can change it, but again, not by huge amounts. But spider silk is a natural polypeptide scleroprotein. It's a special type of protein, and it's got like collagen in it, which we have in our ligaments, and keratin, which we have in our skin and our nails and our hair. Not skin. Don't know why I said that. Talking too fast. I'm trying to slow it down. So, it's got like fibroin, which consists of approximately 42% glycine and 25% alanine. And I know this means nothing to you, but, they're major amino acids. But ultimately, the remaining components are glutamine, serine, leucine, valine, proline, tyrosine, and arginine. And I know that's boring, but really, none of those things match with that sample set. So you can't sit there and tell me, yeah, that was spiderweb, because spiderweb doesn't have boron or silicon in it. And as far as I can tell, it doesn't have like magnesium either. So I'm sorry, I know that was boring, but I just had to put it out there that it's just no way that was spiderweb silk. So that, and also 10,000 people in the stadium saw this. It can't be qualified as mass hysteria because it's too many people.
Right.
And, everybody was fine. And there was, nothing going on that they could say, oh yeah, that was a thing. So, yeah, I think that one was my favorite because they really tried to chalk it up to spiderweb silk. So.
Yeah, which is just silly, but I don't know.
Yeah, crazy things. Another good one was in 1952. This man named Sonny, well, his nickname was Sonny, but Sonny de Vergers. He was a scoutmaster, and he was on the way to take two of his scouts home, and he saw some flashing. And so, as the rational person, does, he went and he stopped his car, grabbed out a machete and a flashlight in the trunk, and went to investigate.
So I have to ask, okay, wait a minute. So he saw flashing lights, and so he jumps out of his car and grabs a machete? That kind of seems a little aggressive to me for just lights.
So it does seem very aggressive. But I mean, they're in Florida, so maybe he was afraid the alligators grew
I know, I was just
flashy
going to
lights
say
on the
gators. I know, right? Their eyes are flashing.
And this one's a little difficult. All the things said something a little bit different, so I can't speak for what's the truth and what's embellished. So, some things left out, the machete thing, but I thought it was entertaining, so
Yeah,
I included
totally.
it today, whether it's right or not. So, so he went out and he found a clearing, and in the clearing, he realized, he looked up and there was a disc above him. And again, kind of different stories. One said it was a silver disc and one said it was black. But I mean, that's kind of open to interpretation because it's dark. It could be black. It could look kind of shiny silver even in the dark. So small points, but he said that it sprayed him with a red mist and was burning him, and he ended up passing out. And I guess the two scouts ran to someone's house and they called the sheriff. And so he came too, and he was having a really hard time seeing because his eyes were burning, and he stumbled out back on the highway, and the sheriff and the boys were there waiting for him. And so they took him in and took a statement and everything. Well, and when he got there, he said he experienced a nauseating smell, and he felt like he was being watched. And he said it was like oven-like heat on him, and that's why he looked up. And so they took him in and took a statement, and he had scalding and burn marks on his arms, and so something had happened to him. But and his Scoutmaster hat had 3 burn holes in it. Now, they went back and investigated it, and there were circular burn marks in the ground where he said he was. That being said, investigators from the Air Force actually came and said that Sonny was known for telling tall tales and that it was just a made-up story, but they also couldn't account for the burn marks in the ground. So I feel like this is a good case of people like to embellish their tails, just in general, and then something weird happens that can't completely be explained, but it's automatically, oh, it was just a tall tale.
Right.
Little bit weird.
Did they show a picture of the guy's hat by chance? Probably not, huh?
No, I didn't see a picture of his hat. A little bit later, I have another one, and you can go online and see he had physical burn marks to his chest, and you can go and see pictures of that, and like his shirt, and probably one of the more well documented cases of an encounter of the second kind. But that's for a little later. Till then, we're going to talk about something else that could be an encounter of the second kind, which is crop circles.
Oh, crop circles, yes. I think so many people know about crop circles because it was really popular for quite a while.
Yeah, and so I'm conflicted on it. So what do you think about crop circles, MoonDog?
Well, it's it's hard to dismiss all of them. RulyWolf, you and I were talking earlier about how there's some people who said they've made their own crop circles in a very primitive way with like a board and some rope, and they kind of press down whatever grain or stalks that they're in the field. And if you look at those, the videos I've seen, it's kind of like you see them doing it and they're moving fast and they're doing a pretty good job, but they're kind of sloppy in a way. I mean, kind of unkept. So when you see them get done, you're like, okay, that's cool. You made a really cool geometric design in the field. But when you look at some other pictures that are out there, and granted, they could have been CGI'd or they could have been doctored, but when you see some shows that I've watched where, like scientists are going out in the crop fields, boy, those stalks are pressed down really hard into the ground, and not like these other guys where it's as they put pressure on it, there's still kind of some cush. I mean, there's somewhere it's just packed down and swirled real tight, and they intertwine with each other. Where you watch the people who make their own, they're not intertwined. So, and there's more. I don't know how far you want me to go, but I think there's definitely something to them that we can't explain. So,
wouldn't it be funny if there were some guys in the UK that came out and said that they had started the craze over there, and it was just for laughs and jokes, and wouldn't it be funny if a UFO race did see it and they're like, oh, that's how they talk, we can do that too?
That'd be hilarious.
Right.
That'd be great.
And that's how it got started.
Yeah, if a ship came in on top of them and like, move it.
Right.
This is our field. Don't do graffiti in our field. This is our field to do graffiti. Thank you very much. And then spray them with red burning spray. That we would have a second incident for sure.
Yes, we would.
Well, I want to say too, there's different grades of crop circles out there. Like I said, there's some kind of shoddy, kind of sloppy ones that definitely humans made, but then, like I said, where they're intertwined. But then there's also, they do tests on the grains themselves or on the stalks, and like there's burn marks all over the place. There's heat, I guess some kind of heat signature or something. That one I can't really address. But radiation, they've detected radiation in the area of the field where the crop circle was done, but not outside. So you go a little bit past it because, there's going to be some residual, but it's like you get past it a little bit and there's no radiation. So, yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting.
See, and I find that very interesting because looking at a lot of the encounters of the second kind of stories, a lot of them include burn marks on the ground and radiation in conjunction to that. So that does sound, I mean, what if they're not a sign and it's just, where it was landing? A ship was landing, I should say.
Well, wouldn't that be just one big crop circle? I mean, you look at some of these designs, and just the geometric designing of it is just phenomenal. I mean, it's like super well done. You know, you got and the ones I love the best, because the ones that people say, "Oh, we did this," you can see where the tractor trails go through the field, so they follow those
Right.
tractor fields. But I've seen some like wheat fields or something where there is no tractor trails, and yet there's crop circles in there, and there's nothing connecting them. So it'll be like, you know, one big round circle, and then a bunch of little round circles around it, and then it strings off to some more circles going out, getting smaller and smaller or bigger. And
Well, I
yeah,
mean, it could be like a whole fleet. I mean, we have different size cars. So,
well,
you know, it could be
there you go.
like, you know, you have your Cadillac of the UFOs, and then you have your sedan and SUV, you know, the UFOs. I really, that's something that I really would like to know more about. Because these guys are claiming credit for it, and I do believe that they probably did do a lot of their own crop circles and everything, but I feel like there's a portion that aren't done by a person. I'm losing my train of thought here. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Basically, I'm wondering, you know, what came first? Were there, you know, UFOs making crop circles first, and somebody saw it and thought, "Hey, let's do this," or were those guys the creators of crop circles, and the, you know, UFOs saw it, or aliens, and, you know, they were like, "Oh, hey, let's try that out." And if they did, why? Like,
Right.
why would they do that? So I feel like that's a really...
That's a good
Go ahead.
question. That's a really good question. I would be interested to find out if crop circles, because that video you sent me, I don't remember if there was a date on it, because that...
They said that they had started in the 1970s.
Yeah, so then when were crop circles... See, this is what I don't know. It's when were crop circles first published? Like, could you see and find them in the 1960s? Because you're right. Because look at Bigfoot. And in our other video when we talk about Bigfoot, the biggest thing is there was a craze for a while, or people, they want to get attention. And so they go out into the woods and they make, you know, Bigfoot footprints in the mud and then claim there was a Bigfoot and stuff like that. So why wouldn't somebody do the same thing with a crop circle?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. And I kind of tried to look, and I had a hard time finding when the first crop circle was, which was on me. I didn't look that long because I was busy trying to get these stories together.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw something that was like, it was done on like an old stone tablet, and they think it might be the first crop circle. But reading about it and looking at it, it's this devil pushing, like making the circle, and in this field, and it kind of had like a parable type thing where it was like, or no, it was more political. I felt like it was more of a political thing than a record of a crop circle, where it was basically saying that they'd rather pay the devil to take care of their wheat fields than the high prices people were charging to take care of their wheat fields. So I don't feel like that can really be counted, because it sounds more of like a political thing.
Yeah, that would be hard to say. And again, just because somebody makes a round circle in the field doesn't mean it's a crop circle. Or
right.
Were they damaging the fields? Am I misunderstanding here?
No, it sounded like it was, you know, if you needed somebody to come and take, you know, I can't think of the word, but cut down your wheat crops.
Yeah.
So it sounded like people were charging such an exorbitant price to come and do that they were like, I'd rather just, you know, sell my soul to the devil and have him do it than pay you guys because you're charging so much. So I had a really hard time finding it. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Which if you know when the first crop circle was recorded, let us know in the comments, because I'd love to know. Because my brief search didn't show anything.
Yeah. Now, what about the whole thing about crop circles and alien races trying to communicate with us through crop circles.
See, I'm not so sure about that because I don't feel like crop circles are super consistent, which I mean, looking at the English language, it's not super consistent either. But that would be like saying two words and having a whole bunch of meaning behind them.
Yeah.
To have a crop circle. So I'm not sure. I don't know if I believe that it would be necessarily like a form of communication other than maybe, I don't know. I almost feel like it would be like teenagers pranking somebody like,
right.
What are they going to do if we do this?
Right. Well, there you go. I like that. Teenage alien. Okay, I know. Sorry again, we're doing a show at night. I just got off work a little bit ago. But yeah, like, some teenage aliens from outer space coming in and, hey, look at that big field. What can we do? I could see that.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be, or it's an intergalactic joke, and we're the brunt of that joke, or something.
Oh, that's it. Men in Black have it. That's where they have the intergalactic keggers. That's it.
Right. That's what it is. There you go. You just solved it.
And somebody's messing. Yeah. I don't think it's any kind of communication, legit communication. It's, I mean, it would be like artwork to me. If really, somebody's traveling across the galaxy to get here and they're not wanting to talk to us, they just may be very artistic and say, look, here's what I can do.
Right. And I think, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I just said, why not? So
that's a good point. And I kind of feel that if there are other beings out there and they're not communicating with us, it's because we're not ready or whatever. But that being said, I'm sure there's some sort of government entity, because they're not just, I don't think there'd be just a bunch of random alien races running around, 2 or 3, one race with just 2 or 3 here and one race 2 or 3 here, just like running around doing their own thing. I think that there would be some sort of agreement that, we're not going to tell Earth we're here or whatever. You know what I mean? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
And totally. So if that's the case, then whatever they're doing, crop circles or whatever, is probably not something they're technically supposed to be doing, or they're like towing the line of what they're supposed to be doing. So I don't think that they would be trying too hard to communicate with us.
Right.
So,
well, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I feel like it's a very complicated matter.
Oh, it's very complicated. I agree. I mean, you look at the pictures, a lot of crop circles, there's not much to it. But like we talked about, the different styles that they're done and the complexity and, the stalks being interwoven in a massive field, you just can't, I can't even see how you could do that. Or burn marks, like a ship had landed, something came down and landed and either compressed the grass really hard, like, let's say it's a tripod type ship and it lands with 3 feet and it would leave actual deep imprints, very heavy weight on it, and then take off and you would see like burn marks there. And like I said, not really see it because you're not there. Right. But there was one I wanted to point out. Oh, and the radiation too. I mean, the fact that they're finding radiation, that's makes it intriguing to the point that you have to say, okay, something's going on. Who's doing it? I have no idea. But certainly there's not somebody with a big board tied at both ends with the rope that they hang on to and stomp it through a field. I'm just saying.
Hey, you weren't there. You don't know.
Hey, I was a kid and I cut Bigfoot plywood footprints and walked through the snow in my neighborhood. Does that count?
Sure.
So the other thing is, I did see a video, and boy, it was tough to believe it, but it was tough not to believe it because some woman had turned on her camera and she's like, we've been seeing these lights, and every time we see these lights, something weird happens, and there's these I want to say, fairly sized orbs, probably the size of a basketball, maybe. It was really kind of hard to tell. They were more kind of a glowy color, and they were just ripping around this field in all sorts of directions and movement. And she sounded so legitimate. She was nervous, kind of scared, whispering, like, I don't want to scare them. I don't know what they're doing, but this is kind of tripping me out. And so either it was a really good actress, and then she knows how to edit film to put something in like that, but it was really hard to tell if it was edited or not. I mean, it definitely wasn't like you go, oh, that's fake right away. And then they went to the field later, and there was all these just great designs in their crops. And the lady's voice was just shaking like, I'm not understanding this. I don't understand type thing. So I don't know. It's intriguing. And I think, for being UFO of the second kind and encounter of the second kind, that's probably one I would want to see.
Yeah, that would be a really neat one to see, I think. Definitely not going to be too abrasive of an encounter.
Hopefully.
So on that note, I can actually tell you about the next story talking about abrasive. Were you done with the crop circles? I don't want to.
Yeah. We're totally done.
So, because again, I think that I would want experience that and crop circles rather than something abrasive, which, in 1967 in Manitoba, Canada, Stefan Michalak. And again, I apologize for any names I'm mispronouncing. I'm trying really hard to get this correct, but names are fickle when you don't know how to pronounce them. So, but he was a mechanic, and of course that escapes me now. I can't remember what kind, but he wasn't just like a regular car mechanic. He worked on pretty cool stuff. But he was really into geology, and so he'd go up to Falcon Lake woods and would look for, quartz and other things. So he did this all the time, and he went out, and when he looked up, he saw two cigar-shaped objects with a reddish glow hovering about 45 meters away. According to Stefan, I think it's Stefan, one of the craft landed, which I find this really interesting. Because remember in the first story, people thought that they kind of looked cigar-shaped, but when this landed closer to Stefan, he said it was more of a disc shape, which, the disc shape is very iconic. But I find it interesting. This kind of has a little bit of a similarity to the other ones in the fact that when it was further away, it looked kind of cigar-shaped. So it landed, and so he thought it was an experimental aircraft, and he spent around 30 minutes sitting there sketching a picture of this aircraft. And it's a cool little sketch. You can find it online. I highly recommend checking it out. So then he decided he was going to go check it out. Why not? Quick, let's go check it out.
Do you have that website address?
Actually, if you just search for Falcon Lake Woods UFO, it should come up with it. If not, search for Stefan. Let me spell his name for you guys. So it's Stefan, and then his last name is Michalak. So if you look for that or the Falcon Lake Woods UFO, you should be able to find it. And there's a ton of pictures. I want to say that he wrote a book about it too. I did not have time to read that, but it's super interesting. So he decided to go check this aircraft out. Like, any reasonable person. Not me. I actually wouldn't do that. I'm not reasonable. I would not go do that. But he went up to it, and he said there was a door open, and he looked inside, and there were lights and stuff inside. And again, this is kind of like our second story where there's a little bit of,
embellishment.
Well, I don't know if it was embellishment as much as there were some details that were in one thing I was reading and then it was left out. But I want to say the one I was reading was like his son was telling about it. So it could be an embellishment, might not be. Which reading about him, he was a Polish immigrant and was really hardworking and stuff. And it didn't sound like he embellished things. Unlike Sonny from our other story. But anyway, so in one story, it was just that the doors closed. But in another one, he heard voices. And so he spoke to them in English, German, and Polish. I feel like maybe there was one other one, French maybe. And he didn't get a response. He said the voices stopped and the door closed. And then he had a puff of hot gas, like whoosh at him as it was closing, and it took off. And it had started rotating. So when that gas hit him, his shirt had caught on fire and he ripped it off.
Oh, wow.
And there's pictures of the shirt. And then he went to the hospital and he was treated for burns on his chest and stomach. And one of the burns is this grid-like burn. Like it's just very clearly a grid. And for weeks afterwards, he suffered from diarrhea and headaches and blackouts and weight loss. And then in the next year, 1968, he was actually still sick with blackouts and his burns were reappearing. And
wow.
This one, both the United States Air Force and the Canadian RCMP investigated and classified the event as unexplainable.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. His story
go ahead.
Is fascinating, and there's pictures. There's pictures of him with the burns. There's pictures of his shirt. There's, his sketches out there. Absolutely go check this out because, there's a lot to this one.
Wow, I'll say so. This is crazy. I've not heard about this one. And by the way, I'm with you. I'm very inquisitive, but I think I would have watched from a distance only because of the whole thing I'm sure we'll talk about down the road is like abductions. I don't want to be that statistic for sure. I don't want to be that guy.
Right. It's not unreasonable that an alien race would want to check us out because we're different. I mean, you see all these movies and they're not wrong when, the aliens come down and they're like, let's experiment on the aliens and see what happens, because that's just kind of, I want to say human nature, but I also feel like it's just if you're a sentient being, that's just, you're going to have curiosity.
Right.
And,
right.
You might not be somebody that would examine an alien, but there's somebody out there that would be absolutely for it in the name of science. So I think it's fair to say that there's a good chance that aliens are taking people to go check them out and see what they're made of. Because, we're aliens to them. So
true. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Feel bad for that guy. What a drag.
Yeah, I just could, you're an immigrant for a reason. You left your home country for a reason, and then you get attacked by an alien ship.
Yeah. Although he shouldn't have gone up there.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise that, just because you don't know. You wouldn't get into a stranger's vehicle, If some random person pulled up and was sitting there, you wouldn't go and investigate because, stranger danger. And I feel like you kind of have to have that with things that you don't know about, too.
Right, exactly.
Not to be a joy kill, but,
You buzzkill, you.
All right, I don't think anybody wants to be abducted. So.
No. So, next. What else you got?
Well, actually, that was it.
Okay.
There were so many other things. It was really fun looking for this one. It was a lot less boring to research than Encounters of the First Kind. I do kind of foresee that some of the other encounters we might have a problem with. Only because they're unique. I want to say one of them is an attack by an alien, like it attacks you, which like in the case of Stefan, it wasn't an alien attacking him, it
No,
was just a ship
not at
running.
all. Yep.
So that wouldn't count. And I don't think there's very many encounters where there's been a physical attack by an alien. So that, I think some of the other ones might be a little interesting to research as well. But
yeah, for sure. But that was interesting. I mean, especially that last one. I was like, wow. I mean, I like the 10,000 people one, and they try to, don't look at the man behind the curtain, and then, but this guy who like had had the kahunas to go up to his ship. I mean,
oh yeah, the guy had no fear. I mean, he sat there for 30 minutes sketching it, and then went up to it. I don't know if I would do any of that. I think I might be like, cool. I have the ability to take a picture at any time because of my phone, so I might take a picture, but then I'm going to book it out of there and be like, bye.
Right? Exactly.
There's only so much I want to handle with my little puny human brain.
Well, there's only so many risks you want to take. Well, I mean, some people just, it just triggers them and they go. And
yeah, and if you really are comfortable and happy doing that, then more power to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I am not one of those people.
Not at all. Oh man, well, that was a good topic. I like that.
Yeah. So we're super excited that MoonDog is back. He's super excited he's back. I don't know why I'm talking to him like he's not here, but
I know.
But yeah, if you guys have had any kind of encounters, let us know in the comments. Like, I love hearing about all of it. So, let us know what you've seen. And maybe we can tell you what kind of encounter it was classified as. I don't know.
Well, there you go.
We're kind of becoming experts here, right?
Well, again, like we've talked about, a lot of people can't talk about this stuff. You can come talk to us, leave a comment. If you really need to talk to someone, we'd be happy to talk to you.
Yeah, if you ever want to say anything or talk to us, you can do it anonymously. You can ask us, to keep it anonymous. We're not going to tell anybody. That serves nobody any good purpose. But absolutely, anything strange that you have happen you want to talk about and don't have anybody to talk about, find us on Instagram at Shadow Talkers.
Yes, exactly. Well, Yep. Shadow Talkers on Instagram. And all of these people, all you aliens out there trying to fake us out to come get on your ship, nope, not going to happen.
Right, yeah, we're not going to, hey, strange human, there's a puppy on our strange car. Come pet our puppy.
Oh my gosh. It's hilarious.
Not going to do it.
I know, right?
I know better.
Oh my gosh.
But I think that wraps up for today. And again, check us out at Shadow Talkers on Instagram and, leave us a comment. Everybody does this, but like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. We put out a show every other week. And until next time, everybody, explore the shadows.